trouble. Onto the Rift we go for our final game of the day. Vikings in various forms abound on the Rift, and we would be remiss if we didn't talk about that change for X7 in the jungle. MC is gone, Viking is in, and Viking was a guy who really stepped up towards the end of last split where Dusty took them alongside FGG, honestly, on a very impressive journey through playoffs to end in third.
Yeah, and I think the issue, I believe, that was having MC in the roster was he came through a team where he was the main carry in Riddle. He was playing the AP carries, he was facilitated for. His job was to carry the team to victory. Viking's job in Dusty was to guide the team to victory. It wasn't necessarily always through him. Yes, he would play his Rek'Sai, yes, he would play his Jarvan, but it wasn't always him that would carry the team. He would lead the team to that third place. And I feel like what X7 was really missing was that leadership, was that mid-jungle duo to actually gel very well together. Now, of course, there could be some communication issues because Chasey and Tempt are both Korean, so the communication could not have been flowing that easily. But the same issue could happen with Viking as well, right? This is why this is our first official game with Viking in X7, and we need to see how this is going to pan out. Because you honestly really like the Vi. I'm on the fence because I'm like, early game, you can make a lot of things happen, right? You've got the Ari with the Vi, you've got Jace in the top lane who wants to snowball the Jace, so maybe you can play towards the top side of the map really easy for level 6.
I mean, what I'll say is, it's a very Viking champion. It's not dissimilar to something like a Rek'Sai where you can dive, be the AD, hit level 6 and dive even harder. Not the easiest champion necessarily to do the diving into, of course, because Merbs can just press R. Silas can build Zhonya's pretty early, as Naimara mentioned on the desk, and that can really stymie whatever I want to do. So, do see how Viking plays it, even if I do think it's proactive, it's aggressive, you can make plays on it, and at least from what we saw in spring, and of course the meta's changed around, fits his playstyle.
Also, I feel like X7 are a little bit squishy. You've got the Jace, who's very squishy. I'm assuming this Vi is not going to go, of course, full tank. You're probably going to look for something like the Sandra or Trinity Force to spice up your Mythic in the early. And then you've got, of course, the Ezreal and the Ari who are also pretty squishy, and you've got Tamkens, fair enough. But if we look towards Vanir, you said it is Merbs Xayah. It is a champion that scales really well into the late game. Ericsson on the Silas, another champion that scales really well into the late game. You've got a bunch of ultimate to play around with, meaning just two, pretty much the Ari ultimate or the Vi ultimate. So you're either pinning people down or chasing people around. Krayox on his first gank, off the game.
Managed to get the wraparound, and Chasey now left in a very difficult position. Vi's just not there. There is the phase. Rosto and Chasey might be able to try and get out of this. Still got the flash, may need to burn it. Flashing away now, flash forward for Dreeple, but he gets knocked away by the Q from Vi. And Viking will keep his top laner alive, but now will Viking have to flash in turn? He will. It'll be 2 flashes for 1, but X7 remain alive off a very clean wraparound from Krayox.
And this is Vanir's identity. Krayox being aggressive in the very early game. We mentioned your ability path. Krayox was doing everything for the team. On the listen, he was mid, top, jungle. Now he's going towards the mid lane together with Zaremba.
Zaremba just out of range with that ground entrance. But a nice combined attempt there from Krayox, and Zaremba collapsing from both sides of mid lane. But Krayox
we're going top again.
Yep, skips a camp, managed to get a little bit of a cheat on the timing towards the top lane. Punishes X7, who wanted to play aggressive on this top side pretty well, as Zaremba is just back into the mid lane. Another sidestep on the ground entrance, so Tempt with the very fancy feet in the mid lane.
Yeah, I'll choose to give it to Tempt, dodging it.
Bit of both, maybe.
And not Zaremba and Ericsson.
I mean, that's without boots on in fairness, so like that's actually really well done.
Yeah, exactly. So Zaremba now on his way down bot lane. He might get spotted right here, but I don't necessarily think between the two there is enough damage, especially when there is W available for the Rakan to get away from any sticky situations, right? So again, I was thinking that this game, in the early game, might be a little bit of a red than sleeper because, of course, we're looking for Vi to get level 6, Ari to get level 6. We're looking for the same for Ericsson, Silas, and the Wukong. The more C you have, the more follow-up you have. That's when you usually want to pull the trigger to get some dives going, to get some skirmishes going. All in all, it's going to be a pretty even game. If anything, Viking is actually 1 camp ahead from Krayox. But, of course, let's reiterate, this Wukong has been nerfed clear-wise. His E, which is the AoE that hits minions, was nerfed around 40%, I want to say.
Pretty heavy. I remember you saying it's about 6 to 8 seconds
6
on
to
the,
8
on,
seconds
on the
for
full
clear.
clear. But again, Krugs didn't go for the full clear, in fairness. He decided against that. So there are some ways around it. The fact if you decide to say, look, I'm just going to gank a little bit more and not go to be pure efficiency in the clear, then maybe you can start doing things like this as Kraox decides, I'm just going to go and use my Warrior Trickster to double team this Cloud Dragon, get Zaremba to come over and assist as well.
That's pretty good. You have bot lane Cryo, which means that Merbs and Zaremba will be the first ones in the river, which means that you're allowed to actually walk inside this Dragon Pit. Now, the problem is, X7 have pushed mid, they've pushed bot, and they can actually wrap around.
Close.
Kraox doesn't do this fast and actually W out of the
Oh,
pit.
my days, just about in, but now there's some danger on the other side as Kasing takes a fair chunk.
Level
Kraox
6
clone
attempt.
does get some damage down, that's about it, and Viking will step away.
It's level 6.
Going to head forwards. Flash for the charm, misses it, but Kraox flash to turn and just dies. Tempt with the solo kill.
Yep, solo bolo, I guess, is the way Koreans do it in this league that we're playing in.
Tempt and Eminence, man.
Yep. So Tempt did the Nemesis? Is that what we call it now?
Attemptiness? An Emin Tempt?
Attemptiness.
Attemptiness.
An attempt.
It just sounds
to
like
Nemesis.
tetanus, and he needs to go get like a vaccine or a jab because like his cat scratched him or something. I apologise for that horrific portmanteau, and we'll move on from that.
It's 5th game of the day.
Yeah, wait. The hysteria head sits in, and this is where you end up. You get initialized in trouble, and this is largely where it devolves to eventually.
Yep. It's like, you know, when you're really tired and you're like absolutely destroyed. You haven't slept in like, I don't know, many hours.
Unfortunately, I do know that, yes.
You've worked really hard, but like the second you hit the bed, you're like hyperactive all of a sudden.
Overtired.
That's literally me.
Yeah.
I can literally sit on the bed and start singing or whatever, or dancing.
Why? Why would you just sit down in your bed and dance?
I don't know.
Like,
When I'm on the verge of falling down and falling asleep, my energy just
look,
radiates.
I'm aware this is a tangent in general, but like, I don't think I've ever met someone who's gone, you know, I'm so overtired I can't sleep, you know what I'm going to do? Dance in my bed.
I'm
Like, that's not...
I'm hyperactive.
That does fit my kind of image of you, but I hadn't really
Yeah.
associated that with you.
Yeah.
Georgia, generally speaking...
Now
lives
if I
best.
send you a message at night, I'm like, freak, I'm like so tired, I can't sleep. You can just imagine
Just
that.
get some, feel the need to samba, that's it. Just go for it. Well, the more you know. Good fact
Production,
to know
can
about
we
you.
have some pets?
All right, let's see what we've got.
Oh,
Beautiful fluffy green from Maple, a very pretty looking dog indeed.
just
Look at that.
protecting,
Oh,
just protecting all the wood.
indeed.
Like the Zaremba is trying to protect his
Control wood.
jungle. It's Kasing's.
Because dogs are... You're right, and I wasn't paying enough attention.
That's fine.
I was
That's
too
fine.
busy looking at the dog. What a great dog. Thank you for that. Continue to share those pictures with us at hashtag NLC Pets. They don't all have to be dogs. Dogs are wonderful, but so are many other animals. So do go and show us what you have, because we love to see and celebrate them. And it's a nice change of pace.
Talking about change of pace,
Indeed.
level 6 onto
Tempt.
Kraox. Oh, Zaremba's walking into very dangerous territory. You get
Ooh.
hit by a taunt, you could be engaged upon. Now Drimple is just about to hit Meganar. They've gotten everyone towards the top side of the map, both teams, except their AD carries. Now Attila is going to start moving towards the mid lane, and a lot of teams will choose to leave their AD carry down bot lane, shoving the wave. This time it's going to be both Attila and Nerb staying there. Ericsson is going to dodge.
But the difference, of course, is Ezreal can affect things from a long way away with his use of the True Shot Baroches. Ericsson takes a hefty trade from Tempt, who landed a great charm. Kasing
Which
trying to zone Kraox out.
has already been used.
Oh,
Just when
Cyclone
it's
comes
in
through.
enough.
Zaremba gets a 3-man grand entrance into a second Cyclone, but I don't know if they've actually got the damage. Warrior Tricks had to be used to try and stay alive. Tempt gets the charm. Meganar is nowhere near, and Dreampool having to run away as he is pulled towards the long sleep and long dream of death. Thus far staying alive, but Tempt being an absolute terror on the Ahri right now. They'll secure the Herald and force Vanir away.
Yeah, I think this was not Vanir's fight to take. Ericsson was shut down from the earlier skirmish with Tempt. Then Dreampool goes top lane to push in the wave, loses his Meganar. Then they go back into fight. Kraox is getting caught between so many members from X7. And that was just not Vanir's fight to take. Unfortunately for them, the Rift Herald is going to go towards X7
I
though.
mean, you've got Cyclone 1 into 3-man grand entrance into Cyclone 2. I thought, surely that's enough CC damage. Surely that's going to punish
Well,
X7.
that's enough to see what a damage.
You may have a point there, Trouble.
Your damage is scaling down the
Yes,
bot lane.
your damage was being pushed in mid lane and the Silas and not there because Merbs was on the bot lane. Oh no. Cancelled back there because Attila throws out another true shot barrage, but Merbs, with the cull, kind of knows his role here, which is get as much gold to myself while playing without too much attention.
And I also want to reiterate the fact that when X7 were not doing that well, it was Attila on the Ezreal. And don't get me wrong, he's infamous for his Ezreal. He's one of his best champions alongside the Draven, which both have completely different playstyles. But
very true.
He's very famous for his Ezreal, and he's very famous for his Draven. Now, when X7 resorted back to the Ezreal at the very beginning of the split, it just was not going very well for them. And then that's when they transitioned to the Senna, and then slowly to the Draven, the more early game favored champ. Now, the way Attila has been using his True Barrage, this is where I wanted to end, is in a lot of ways the way we saw Jinx use a Super Mega Death Rocket
yeah.
to stop people from backing, meaning that you get tempo advantage on the map. The fact that Merbs couldn't back there means that he has to stay for another wave, means that he doesn't have his items, means that he can't shove quickly enough, means that he can't walk into river. What does that give? That gives X7 the freedom to move into that river and take the dragon because Merbs didn't back in time to get items. So things like True Barrage and things like Super Mega Death Rocket are just so important to stopping backs to win your team macro when you're that quick at pulling the trigger to moving around the map like X7 is. And especially for Ezreal, whose ultimate pretty much recharges every time he hits a Q, is just much faster to use.
Indeed it is, but Vanir maybe looking to punish chasing this top side. He's getting slowed down, realizes he's in for a world of hurt and just decides I need to get some of these minions because there's no way I'm getting out of here. It falls down to Kraox.
Yeah, and look at the bot side of the map. Zaremba and Merbs are completely... Merbs is completely respecting the fact that he knows his entire team is towards the top quadrant of their jungle. So most likely what's going to happen, he's most likely going to be getting dived. So it's pretty good stuff from X7. They're depriving him off of a gold and experience. They're going to pop the Rift Herald towards the bot side of the map, get some more gold into Attila's Ezreal, possibly take him around the map.
Wow, they're going to get so much out of this. I think it is going to be the full turret. So, yes, you get the kill onto Chasey, but he did manage to clear a lot of that wave to prevent a completely easy shove. And instead, full 5 plates go into Attila's Ezreal, who, running that first strike as well, feeling very happy with that influx of gold going his way. Yeah,
I think he should have close to his mana Mune as well. Yeah, he's very close. And top side of the map, though, Dreampool did manage to get 2 turret platings on the Na on his own, and this time you can actually swap your Na towards the bot side of the map, and because there is no dragon spawning for another 3 minutes, you know that you're going to be relatively safe playing towards that bot side of the map. Saying that, though, the fact that your Xayah is going to be playing yet again away from the dragon, away from the neutral objective that your team wants to potentially fight for, is going to significantly hurt Vanir's 4 versus 4 team fights.
That it is, and we're left with a game where X7 have the early game lead, have managed to get some of their kind of early win conditions down and available. Of course, as you mentioned, Attila's Ezreal, that infamous character for him, doing in a very good position to carry, despite, of course, some slightly less than stellar games towards the beginning of the split on the champ. But right now, in a very strong position to carry. Chasey died just the once, but of course had to burn the flash early on, and maybe in the recipient of this lane swap now as well, being forced away from this tower potentially.
Yeah, and you'll see, we mentioned how when you take bot tower, that means you unleash your carry from that lane, which means you can take them around and be a complete nuisance. Now, of course, with Attila being on almost 2 items, when, if you look on the side of Vanir, only Kraox has finished his mythic, is pretty huge. You take that Ezreal, you put down the poke, you force people either off of waves or off of towers, you bleed your vision in, and look, this is exactly how they're using the Ezreal. Oh!
Just misses.
So close right there to actually cancelling the back from Zaremba, which again slows down your tempo if you do manage to get the cancel.
Oh, Merbs just get hit by the charm into the Everfrost. It'll be a fairly decent chunk here. Remember, Temp's running the Ignite as well, so it can definitely be pretty damn aggressive if he would so wish, but decides against it. Merbs did just proc the Cull as well about half a minute ago as well, so likely pretty close to a mythic of his own if Temp doesn't go for the interrupt. May think about it, throws down the Foxfire, does interrupt as well, trying to delay.
Merbs is like, guys, please.
Yeah, this mythic completion for as long as they can actually leaves Temp with a bit more room to get a shove in onto this top lane tier 1, and Vikings over here may make Kraox's life a bit difficult as the rest of X7 rotate as well.
Yeah, and what did this mean? This meant that Craig's has to stay over the top side to try and defend this lane. They know Merbs is not there, there's no Mythic.
Teleport.
So that Craig's cannot defend this alone, so they have to put teleports.
Crayox does burn the ultimate, and Tempt decides to burn his in trade as well, but the teleport had to be burned there, and X7 are forced away, but as he said, came at a fairly significant cost.
And again, it comes off of Tempt interrupting Merbs. Merbs would come back with a mythic item much sooner on the map. He would have probably been towards the top side of the map. He would have probably been in that mid lane tier 1 to try and stop that siege from going down. So twice now, Attila stopping Merbs on the bot lane and Tempt stopping Merbs on the top side of the map, when that Zaya is your most significant damage and constant damage that you have in team, has been so insane for X7's macro.
Somewhere out there, Jeff Goldblum is nodding his head, talking about the butterfly effect. You stop her back in the top side, you burn a teleport to try and defend that top side tower, you get to rotate down towards the mid lane with that teleport down and take that turret instead. Get yourself pressure in mid lane to set up for this dragon. It's a lovely sequence of plays.
And more importantly, I think Ari can also be used as a zoning tool, so doesn't necessarily need her ult. But Crayox not having his ult for this fight is going to be massive because he's the one engaged in the fights.
A lot of ults available elsewhere. Vikings in particular is one to keep your eyes on, alongside, of course, things like the Devour as well, getting a pick onto X7 pretty tricky. But what can someone like Zaremba do as well? Of course, he's got his own engaged tools, and the Dragon started up as Tempt steps away briefly to clear out the mid lane wave, and Crayox takes a vast chunk of damage, because, of course, JC and Attila have got a bit of a range advantage here.
Oh, what's Tempt though? He's on the flank, he has the ultimate, he can ult through the wall and catch somebody off guard.
Not seen anybody.
Oh, he can cancel Merbs again.
Oh no, just like poor old Merbs, like why? Why has my life become this? And somewhere out there, Nymera in the green room, I'm sure is nodding away going, yes, this is how you be as obnoxious an Ahri as possible. Has gone towards Everfrost into the Oblivion Orb though, so very much a utility build though.
Putrifier.
If Tempt builds Putrifier, I will send a strongly worded message on Twitter to say what the hell is going on, because Putrifier cannot be procced by Ahri. It doesn't work. But Crayox and Dreeple have actually found the flank onto Kasing and Attila, who are about to find 5 members behind them in a very deadly position. Attila goes over the wall, but Merb's about to try and find that Ezreal, who gets charmed up and surely goes down. A very nicely set up bait and kill.
Very well done, and if you look on the top side of the map, the wave was already pushed in. The only thing that Vanir is missing right now is one wave shoved in the mid lane, which was by Chasey. Really nice catch right there. Merbs was flanking. He finds finally Attila, who's been cancelling him time after time with the Truce barrage, gets his revenge right there. Ericsson is also going to tip it over the top side of the map to not lose any gold or experience. He needs to be very careful, of course, because Viking is around, and a dive could be potentially something that's in the books for the side of X7, but that was a really nice, proactive play yet again from Vanir.
And we've seen this from Attila and Kasing. They have been very disrespectful of people being in those bushes. When they've been on Ezreal and Tahm Kench, when they were dying a little bit, unfortunately, in the first few times we saw them bring that duo out this split, it was walking up at level 3 past those bushes and getting jumped on. It was overextending here as well that got them punished and got a bit more gold into the back pockets of Vanir, who were starting to fall away from the game. Of course, Attila now at 2 items. That one death isn't going to disturb him too much. He didn't burn the flash, so it's just the kill goat that goes over, but even so, it's not what you want to see.
Yeah, and if you look at the composition that X7 are running in general, it's more of a poke composition.
Yeah.
You poke with the Ezreal, you poke with the Jace, you either make sure that somebody's so low that they can't join the fight, or they go low enough for potentially a Vi to jump in together with the Ahri and assassinate them and clean up the fight, play with 1 number advantage on the map. But if you look right here, X7 are going to prioritize getting that second Rift Herald, whilst Vanir actually shoving in the lanes. Bot lane from Dreampool, mid lane by Merbs, and top lane by Ericsson. Ericsson here needs to be extremely careful. He has no teammates around, and he knows that the majority of X7 members are on the top side of the map.
Got himself the hijacked Spirit Rush, which of course will give him a little bit more safety than he might otherwise normally have. But Ericsson had the easiest time this game, been relatively quiet thus far, all things said and done, and a player that was some doubts about. He was, of course, on the Verdant roster that went down into Division 3. And up now against Tempt, who was of LCK caliber once upon a time. And not a matchup that perhaps one might have been expecting a couple years ago. But here it is in the NLC regardless. Does lose that bot lane tier 2 with the second Herald charge coming through from X7, who do continue to remain fairly heavily in control of the map.
I think that was a pretty good trade, though, from Vanir, regarding the fact that they actually lost that Rift Herald, and there's a tower that went down. Dreampool actually equalized the towers. He took bot lane tier 1, so there was a 1-for-1 trade. And even though, yes, they are about 2.1, 2.2k gold behind, they still have the Xayah that can come in clutch in the later stages. And again, playing a poke composition for X7, that means your skill shots need to hit. Might I remind you, Ari is a skill shot champion as well. Your taunt needs to hit, your Q needs to hit. So if you do manage to miss this, and mind you, Nari's pretty slippery, Wukong's pretty slippery, Rakan is pretty slippery, and so is Ericsson on that Sylas. I'm not even gonna mention the Xayah with the ultimate. Making sure you can maneuver around these abilities and engage in makes these poke champions very squishy.
There's got to be some commentary on the fact that Ari's charm is a skill shot, about, shooting your shot when you've got the chance when it comes to love and stuff, that. There's got to be some commentary there. There's be like some thesis in that.
If anything, you know what? I would have expected Namer to have already made that.
I'm surprised he hasn't.
I'm very disappointed now.
Alex,
yeah.
Set it up.
Yeah.
I need you to write a thesis on the fact that Ari's charm is a skill shot and what that commentary is from Riot Games and the wider Ari playing community. There you go. I don't know where to go from that.
We scolded him.
All right, well, 35 seconds until an Infernal Drake #2, which will be soul point for X7 if they can secure it. And a poke comp with Infernal Soul is just brutal. Ouch. So I think we might be watching Vanir try and stop them, but I don't know how easy it's going to be when control of their red side jungle is firmly in X7's control right now.
The most difficult thing is that you don't necessarily have lane power. So you see Ericsson is manically trying to push down bot lane. Merbs is left alone in the mid lane. He's getting poked by Attila, and Dreampool is not even there yet. Although when Dreampool does join, his rage spot is almost...
Remember takes so much damage, but now I'm going to try and turn this one around. But actually, a massive use of the ultimate there. Cease and desist prevents an easy engagement. Cryox and the Rakan is dead to right. Temps goes forward, has to try and flash away, still dies to Merbs. Cryox alive as well on the other side. Big knock into the wall from Dreampool, who's trying to stay alive. Over the wall goes Ericsson, and they're beginning to turn it around. Vanir might actually be doing this. Merbs turns up to the fight. It's a double, of course, to Dreampool in general. The true shot barrage gets a kill, though, and that will make it a fairly even trade. A 3-for-2 in favor of Vanir. But importantly, Vikings alive and Cryox is nearly gone. I don't know how easy this would be to play.
Oh, but Ericsson has teleport. He can go back. He can TP behind them. Look at that ward in the mid lane. He's actually coming in. He has his fast available. Attila has just used his E. He can actually be chased down.
They'll try and make it happen. Attila going towards the blast cone, but will get caught out by the abscond and then into the abduct. Uses the blast cone to get out. And he's got a second one. He gets out alive.
Wow, they literally got away with murder. They take the dragon, they get out alive, both of them, and I have... Oh my god.
The blast cone uses it, but what about the absconded duck? Doesn't need to use it. The Q will get him out to safety.
I have no freaking clue what business Vanir have winning this fight. Yet again, you will see Zaremba is in a very weird position. Cryox goes in all alone, by the way. Zaremba goes in and gets instantly blown up. So the Wukong and the Rakan have been non-factors here. Dreampool is 1 HP, but this Mega now that he gets right here onto 2 members, stuck up onto all of these feathers from Merbs. You see how the Xayah slowly but surely starts coming online. You see members for long enough, the feathers are going to do damage. I feel like this was a fight that Vanir had no business whatsoever winning because they were so miscoordinated and so split apart. Imagine a world where all the CC lands at the same time with Merbs there to do damage.
Yeah, and honestly, Temp was inches away from getting a couple kills there, but Merbs and Cryox using their Qs to manage to get some things done as Dreampool is in a bit of spotter, but actually Zaremba's come over to try and save this one. It's Kasing and the rest of X7 actually here. They're looking for some vengeance after that dragon fight. They did get the Infernal Soul point as well, so they're in a very commanding position as Dreampool is pulled back with the charm and goes straight down.
Again, overreaching by Vanir. They're overextending and instantly get punished by X7.
Here we go.
And don't be fooled, this is not a bloodthirsty game. It's just teams overextending and getting picked apart one by one. Now, this is going to be a very difficult fight to actually walk into for Vanir because this Baron is almost gone.
And they've got, like, no summoners to work with as well. Zaremba gets charmed as he tries to go in. Temp stays away from the Everfrost. And over the wall, an accelerated shock blast deletes Rakan. Birds of a feather will die together, apparently, as Merbs has to back out of there as well. Ericsson used the Spirit Rush to get out of dodge, but that will be a Baron taken by X7 and a kill on top of that as well.
Add insult to injury. Jason just walks in, auto-attacks the blue buff once and takes this away well. So, no rest right there for Vanir. really good stuff from X7. They managed to get one pick and then transition that into the Baron. And they're using their Ezreal and the Jace so well. And again, we said, it doesn't matter if the Shock Blast is going to kill somebody. The role of Chasey and Attila is to get people low enough to the point where they just cannot walk through a choke point, because then Vi is going to be there and Ari is going to be there and they're going to be executed. So you're just pushing people's HP bars and shoving them further back towards their fountain unless they want to die and actually go to their fountain.
2 minutes of Baron left to go, and that will time up pretty conveniently with the spawning of the Infernal Drake, which could well be X7's soul to claim. Vanir not going to have a very easy time of getting control of the map to think about contesting, and Dreampool is using this opportunity to try and get some more pressure on a side lane and will secure at least that top lane tier 1, but all the while X7 get onto this bot lane tier 2, and that will disappear in a few moments.
Yeah, they have 2 lanes pressure, mid lane pushed by Chasey, 4-man stacked unit from X7 on the bot side of the map. They don't have a very big wave, but the problem for Vanir is they only have Merbs, and Zaya's range is not the largest, and also you have Sylas, who's a melee. He cannot necessarily walk into the wave because he's going to get chunked down by Chasey's Jace and by Attila's Ezreal. So right here, again, 2-lane siege coming in from X7. Vanir have to choose what to defend.
Just flash in, and they're going to try and make something happen with the Nimbus Strike. It's a big man of knock-ups, and down goes Attila, who had no way out there. Merbs goes up into the sky with the Feather Storm to stop Viking from getting in on top of him, and he's going to fall as well. Now they need to try and run away as fast as they can as Tempt, maybe looking for someone over the wall. But Zaremba would be the only option. Kassin gets to get over with the Blast Cone. Charm goes wide, and Tempt now being spotted out, but does have Flash, and of course the Spirit Rush to get out. And when they needed to, a flash in from Kraox secures Attila's Ezreal. Oh my days.
And we mentioned how Vanir need to pick their fight when 2 lanes are being pushed. Usually what you want to do is before your inhibitor tower drops, you need to choose a fight on the 2 lanes that are being pushed. Where do you want to fight? Who do you want to pick off? And Kraox decided it's going to be the bot lane, it's going to be the 4-man stack. 7 out of 8 kill participation for Kraox. Mostly everything that's been made possible kills-wise has started from the Vanir jungler on that Wukong. This is why we mentioned how important it is to have that ultimate. Talking about ultimates, talking about importance, Wukong ult not up, 10 seconds for Dragon Soul.
No flash either for Kraox. He burnt it to get Attila, but unfortunately X7 have respawned in time to be in position to at least contest. Everyone's around, True Shot Barrage just clips Ericsson, but no one else. And we've got ourselves a mighty fight to go down here as Dreampool nearly the Mega on a flank here potentially as well, looking to find his way into the backline of X7. Ericsson steals the Spirit Rush, looking to find another way in potentially. Dreampool now spotted out, they'll know where he is. The Dragon's alive, but no one has started it quite yet.
Yeah, and this is a problem for Vanir, the fact that it hasn't started yet, because it gives time for Ezreal and Jace to poke you down low enough that the Ari can actually run and assassinate you. Zaremba though!
The Devour will keep Kassin, Attila alive, but Viking will go down, but it's a 1-for-1 trade as Zaremba is also traded, but the jungler being dead is such a big deal. Chasey having to try and flash out as Merbs is Zaya secures another, but all the while Tempt on the other side to get the top lane. Ericsson so desperately low, but so is Merbs as well. A final Spirit Fire will do that one. I apologize, a Foxfire is what it's really called. True Shot Barrage. Gale forced away from a small breath of wind away from falling. He'll get out alive, but Kraox over the wall, about to go to back away, but is he? Kassin continue to hunt down all the while. That Infernal Drake is still alive. And X7 are going to try and keep the jungler as far away from it as they can while they let Ezreal take it away.
Yeah, Attila can just jump into the pit and start taking the dragon down. And you mentioned when you have a poke comp and you get Infernal Soul, suddenly your Qs from Ezreal and Jace become Infernum shots from Aphelios.
Kassin is 2 levels down and is winning this 1v1. The Kench is unbenched. Viking's been unbenched as well. And suddenly they just get kills onto the Wukong.
This should not be the case.
No.
Just saying. But again, we're watching this fight. You see how they're catching Attila. Kassin eats him and puts him away. But the second Zaremba tries to go in, Viking stops him. Because if Zaremba gets a multi-man taunt, the Dreampool gets to walk in and get the ult. And the Kraox gets to walk in, and the same for Ericsson. But the fact that Viking stopped Zaremba dead in his tracks, it doesn't matter if he trades his life, because he has saved his team from multi-CC.
Merbs, Ericsson, and I believe Dreampool also all tried to flash to kill Chasey, and they finally get him, but they burnt so much to get on top of the Jace that everyone else kind of died while it happened. And now you're in a position where you've lost the Infernal Soul, you burnt a lot to try and stop that one, and yes, you managed to get a couple kills. Hell, you're ahead in the kills. The problem is that you're still coming out of these fights with desperately low health bars and no easy way to take control of this map.
And I just want to reiterate how important this match is. Vanir and X7, one win away from each other. Vanir wins that, they equalize the score. They're big contenders to take the playoff spot away from X7. X7, who is the former champions, X7 who are quarter-finalists at EU Masters from Spring 2022. And they need to be solidifying themselves towards the top part of the standings, not scraping by to just make playoffs.
0-2 last week put them in a pretty difficult and precarious position, as you said. X7 do have the head-to-head currently against Vanir, but they lose this, and suddenly Vanir, it's a 1-1. The game score is tied. Things get significantly more dicey. Win this, and you give yourself a lot more breathing room between, of course, yourself, Vanir, and the teams below them. Cryox, though, trying to find a flank, has to burn the Cyclone. Zaremba taken so very low, but Kasing saves his top laner. It's a 1-for-1, though. Again, Viking is traded for Zaremba. But look at the side. Temp trying to get into Merbs, who's going to go straight down. The stopwatch prevents the Feathers getting pulled, but on the other side, 2 are dead as Dreampool gets 2. But Temp trying to get another charm as the Mega wears out. Attila is still alive. Attila can run them all down. Temp gets another reset. It's a triple for the LCK former mid laner. And Cryox is left to run away, the one remaining member of his team, and Attila, with 2 levels above him, will look to try and finish this one out, will clean up the clone, and that Infernal Soul will ensure that Cryox burns out.
Ace right there for X7, and mid and bot stay alive. 7, 1, and 3 for Temp. And had it not been for his positioning in this fight, had it not been for Temp stopping Dreampool for entering that wombo combo that Vanir were preparing on 4 members of X7, it could have ended up super bad for them. But Temp comes out clutch together with Attila. They clean up the fight. And these are the 2 true carries for X7 coming in clutch in this one. And I think if we see this again, look at Temp's positioning. Dreampool just turns Megana. He wants to find a way in. Triple man knockup for Cryox. 3-man taunt from Zaremba, but Dreampool was stopped from Temp from going in. And not only that, Temp also finds his target with his Merbs. So he stops the wombo combo on his team. He takes out enemy AD carry. Job done for the X7 mid laner.
And when you've still got your Ahri, when you've still got the Ezreal alive, and everyone else who's doing the damage is gone, it became very difficult for Vanir. They're down the Baron again. And now with 4.5 items in Attila's inventory and a similar number in Temp's, we're looking at a very difficult position for Vanir. And I'm not entirely sure how they're supposed to play it out from here if they want to even try and find a way back into this game.
You're going to have to try and find a pick, but again, you don't have Ericsson. He's towards the top side of the map. Dreampool cannot take this wave down. He has to get too close. He's going to get poked out. They're going to lose mid lane bot lane inhibitor, but they have to fight at some point. All of their ultimates are up, but Ericsson is still topside.
Viking goes in, but it's only in onto the clone. They're going to try and teleport behind. Dreampool nearly at Mega, does get charmed out, which means he's not got the easiest. Oh my god! The damage that came through onto him was practically illegal. Someone go get their lawyer, because I am witnessing a murder live on my screen, and the weapon was Infernal Soul. 2 are dead already. They tried to pull the trigger and defend their base, but there was nothing to be done. It will be a swift demolition at the end of the game.
What Infernal Soul? That looked like Elder Dragon. He hit him twice with a Q and 1 auto attack, and that was it. The entire HP bar just went down. X7 bringing in Viking, winning on the first spot.
Lordy lords, the damage is increasingly nasty to witness. In they go onto the towers, they switch in Viking. X will mark the spot on this game, and X7 will move to X7 and 6.
Just a little bit more, though. They need to pad the numbers first. You know what?
A little bit of taying around.
0-2 week. They need to pad the numbers, and they actually deserve it. 8-1 and 4 for Temp, 7-2 and 4 for Attila. X7 will slowly but surely finish the game and move to 7 wins and 6 losses. Was it clean? Not necessarily.
Parts of it were.
Partially.